Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome. It's David Hodge. All right, brothers and sisters. The war in the Middle East. There is no peace coming from this situation, brothers and sisters. This will end bad for false Israel. This is going to end in their defeat and their destruction. That's not what they want. This reality wants. Because the world is set up around the idea that false Israel is God's chosen people, that they're the true seed of Abraham, which once they're destroyed, that eliminates that false narrative. Because it said when God placed them in their land, they're not to be uprooted or removed. So it means, who are they? Well, they find out that they're Satan. It says those that call themselves Jews, they're Satan. Those who have synagogues, synagogue of Satan. It said Satan was masquerading as angel of light, meaning he was pretending to be something he wasn't. He was pretending to be us, the black men and women of America. They have stolen our identity. And the world thinks that they're blessing. But right, they think that the blessed people are false Israel. Now there are some individuals that know that they're not God's people, but they don't really understand the full picture of this thing. But they're going to get to understand it in a minute. However, we know the outcome of this war, brothers and sisters. It ends with the destruction of false Israel. And that alone is going to send shockwaves through the planet, because that's the ideology of this reality. It's what's keeping people balanced. It's the center of this reality is centered around that idea is structured around the idea. They're structured around the idea well, the point is that that's going to be exposed. And if that's what keeps a person sane, and now they find out that that's a lie. I mean, their life was a lie. That means now that they find out that they're insane. And they've been supporting a people that has been the total opposite of what they believed. And now their world has come crumbling in on them, because if the world was structured around the idea, that's how it functioned. It was structured around the idea that they were these individuals, and that's how they went on about their lives. They carried on about their lives. Well, you can no longer do that anymore. That's like finding out that right. It's like finding out that, trying to think of a good example, brothers and sisters. Hmm. Well, let's just say I can't pretend to try to understand what they're going to be thinking. But just know that if you believe in something wholeheartedly, you believe that this is how it is, this is what it is, and the truth comes and is exposed worldwide, and it's no longer, you can't no longer go along with that idea because it's been completely shattered. Meaning the only thing that's been keeping this thing going is because they're alive. They're still in that land. They still have certain things are still in place and people are still supporting them as if they're these people. But then once they're totally kicked out, when American Britain is finally kicked out of the Middle East, the House of Saud defeated, and false Israel destroyed, then now you can't go back to something that's totally false. Because it said when God placed them, the people, his people in their land, they're not to be uprooted or removed. That's an abomination. And they follow the scripture. They follow the scripture that, that's their guidance. Even if they, what I'm saying, they go about it the way they want to go about it, it's still their guidance. But you can't go around that. So once that happens, because that still has to be, somebody still has to be, you see? So that means they want who they claim to be. So that's the point. It's going to flip this reality upside down. That was the point I'm getting at. It's going to send shockwaves through the planet. People are going to go insane. They're going to go crazy. People are going to lose their minds. People are going to be out here as if they was intoxicated, but they didn't have anything to drink. They're going to be out of their damn minds, drunken out of their minds, but sober. So imagine that, sober, but drunken out of your mind. Totally insane. You see? So that's where we headed, brothers and sisters. We're headed to the time of unprecedented trouble. A time like no other, and never will there be. And these devils are about to be exposed to torment God's people. Because their establishment of false Israel is about to go down. They can't allow that to happen. They can't allow, because that comes with their destruction. They can't allow false Israel to be destroyed. That means they're coming to get us. They're coming to attack us, brothers and sisters. That's why it says when you see this setup, American Britain get kicked out. False Israel, Household defeated. False Israel's isolated, under siege, surrounded by armies. It said when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that their destruction is near. It says when you see Jerusalem surrounded by army, it says flee. Flee. Because they're coming to attack you now. They can't allow that idea to spread that and let you get that and let you find out who you are. They can't allow you to get up and rise up. That's their destruction. You are their destruction. They're racing to get rid of you. The evidence of their crime. They're racing to get rid of you, the executioner of their crime. You are their judgment, literally. And if false Israel go down, then that means everything that they established to counter your claim is gone. Now you rise up, and that's the end for them. So now they have to attack you. It says flee, flee, flee. You see? Telling our people that you can't hesitate, you'll lose your life. That's how serious this time is, brothers and sisters. You can't even go back to get your baby. So it said, my people are lost from the lack of knowledge, lost from this information here. The information of this time, the truth of this time, which is the attack that they have planned for you, brothers and sisters. They have an attack planned for you. And you have to be aware of it so you can make a decision on where you're headed, which should be out of America. Investing in yourself, investing in your vision so you don't perish. I said the people out of vision would perish, and they're not giving it to you because they want you to perish. They don't want you to get out of here. They don't want to be destroyed. They don't love you. They hate you. And what's the evidence of it? Because they've shown you how much they hated you on top of changing you 100%, which means they hate you 100%. Because if they love something, they keep it the same. They change you completely. And they've shown you just how much they hate you, but it's about to intensify here in a minute. They're rushing the clock to get rid of you, to escape their judgment. So there's no backing out of where we are, brothers and sisters. We are at that time. Things have been intensified. Things are getting worse. Like I explained, there is no peace to be made. There's no backing out of this. There's no negotiation. All that stuff's over with. Iran is going to be victorious. They're still tearing false Israel's ass up. And they're the underdogs. Everybody believed that false Israel was going to win because they're supposed to be so-called God's people. The narrative is going to switch. Narrative switch. See, the gods with Iran. That's the switch. But we know that Iran's going strong. They still have strike power. That's a big problem for Israel. They still have missiles and launchers active on the scene, continue fighting this war. Their systems are still working, which means that false Israel has not eliminated the threat that's on their life. Explosions, and even if they intercept some of these things, it's still debris and stuff that's still hurting and harming their people, running for shelter, getting injured from, like I said, the strikes and debris. Some of them running to shelters, can't get in them. And they're under attack as we speak, brothers and sisters, actively. People dying constantly. 10 to 15 people. We're talking daily, Thousands have been injured. So the point is, it's just getting worse. Iran and those helping him, like Hezbollah, the Houthis, they're coordinating attacks on Israel. So Israel's in trouble. This is the pressure has increased, the increasing pressure on false Israel coming from multiple directions. And there's been over 400 targets hit in 48 hours. Massive. Yeah. So, brothers and sisters, this war is driving global oil instability, increasing costs for Israel and its allies. This war is causing more financial damage and psychological pressure on Israel. Like I said, sirens, chaos, bombings, shelter runs, uncertainty, schools, and normal life are still disrupted. Long-term trauma. See? So people are praying for peace. Please end this. Stop. Stop. Please stop. Please. Well, they wasn't thinking about that when they was attacking Gaza. You see? They weren't worry about that when they was killing women and children, blowing up women and children, starving and dehydrating women and children, preventing them from aid, bombing and blowing up their stores, their homes, their bakeries, their worshiping centers, their hospitals, their schools, their water infrastructures and infrastructures in general. They wouldn't worry about that. They won't worry about stealing their land, oppressing them, and forcing them out. They won't worry about the abomination desolation that they was putting on them. That the uprising of their people, the Palestinians, was being suppressed. They try to rise up for their people and get back what was theirs, and they was being suppressed by false Israel with abominable cruelty, which caused hatred and revulsion and moral revulsion for false Israel, because they were doing the abominable. Abominable. They were abominable. They are an abomination who is causing desolation on those individuals. And now they want things to stop. But see, it says that everything that they do would fail. So they hear what they say and they do. And now things are backfiring on them. And their desolation is near. It's closing in on them. And there's no coming back from this. So it means anybody involved with helping them is going to rack up consequence for themselves as well. It's not going to end well for you because you're going against God. You're going against God and his angels. You can't escape from this destruction and annihilation, you see. And it's not going to be any peace that comes from this, brothers and sisters. That time's up. Over with. Hold up. Yeah, that's not mine. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. Okay, give me just a second, brothers and sisters.
Get a brand new air conditioning system installed and do not put a single penny down in the process. You heard me right, guys. If you're anywhere here in the area, we have a
All right, brothers and sisters. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah. So as I was explaining, yes, they did all these things to Gaza, the Palestinian people, and now they're hoping and praying for peace, and they want all these things to go away, and they want things to restore back to normal. And that's exactly when they said all these things will happen, thinking they was getting peace and all this stuff, right? Either way it go, they're not going to get what they think they're going to get. They're going to get the complete opposite, which is their destruction. Instead, they don't hear what they're saying they do, meaning they're not getting away with none of the things that they've done. They're not going to get away with it, brothers and sisters. The only thing that's coming is their destruction, is the end of their lives. You see, so they wasn't thinking about all these things when they wasn't thinking about peace when they was inflicting uh, destruction on on the Palestinian people, and now involving all these other parties in this thing. That's why now everything's uh, backfiring on them, brothers and sisters, because they're gonna realize that their destruction is right around the corner. They don't even realize it, and they're making it worse. They're making things worse for themselves, and the consequences of their actions they're not going to just vanish. They're not going away. Sit there and inherit what they say they do. So everything's going to backfire right in their face, brothers and sisters. All right, let's get to this.
A new and explosive message is emerging from Gaza. The military spokesperson of Hamas al-Qassam brigades, the new Abu Obaida, has issued a fiery statement, one that is already sending shockwaves across the region. In it, he praises Hezbollah's recent operations against Israeli forces, calling them consequential and highlighting what he describes as heavy losses inflicted on Israel. But the message doesn't stop there. Abu Obaida calls for intensification, signaling that the conflict may be far from over. His remarks point to a broader strategy, one that places growing pressure on Israel amid an already volatile regional landscape. At the heart of this escalation is the issue of detainees. The statement comes in response to a controversial move by Israel, approval of a law that could allow the execution of Palestinian prisoners, a decision that has triggered outrage and raised fears of further escalation. Abu Obaida frames the moment as a turning point, arguing that past conflicts have shown how central the prisoner issue is to the wider struggle. He points to Gaza's heavy sacrifices in previous confrontations, suggesting that the cost has been immense and ongoing.
This true savage face of the occupation. And since October 7th, while my people were killed live and direct in Gaza, this was paralleled by a silent genocide in prisons. We have documented 89 martyred prisoners executed in prisons. And this narrative is fully documented by our lawyers and the organizations that reached out until we confirmed they were martyrs executed in cold blood and this law comes to reinforce the genocide and to legitimize the killing of our heroic prisoners. We demand the activation of universal jurisdiction to isolate and prosecute the rulers of the occupation state and its war criminals. We also demand that European and international parliaments sever all ties and agreements with the so-called Knesset, what it purports to be the house of democracy, which serves to legitimize the genocide against the Palestinian people.
We die and 1,000 times a minute because we truly know nothing about our children. Since my son's last court hearing, I haven't known anything about him, and my situation is the same as all mothers of prisoners. The situation of all families, we know nothing about our loved ones.
We were surprised by the decision and by its approval, and despite it passing through many stages, there was no hold, neither international nor internal nor external intervention. No one truly feels the pain that they are feeling the way that we are feeling it.
For the mothers and families of prisoners affected by this decision, may God help them. May God help them and strengthen them. This decision struck them like a thunderbolt. Personally, I haven't slept. May God help the one whose son is facing this decision. And I appeal to the president to advance the prisoners' file, not to let it drop. The prisoners' cause is paramount.
This is a law that explicitly sanctions extrajudicial killings, and it clearly represents a deeply racist situation, one that this entire system has embodied since its very inception. It's very Christian posts under the deliberate enactment of this law, solely designed to target Palestinian prisoners post exclusively, and therefore pose it is a crime against humanity that absolutely must be confronted by every single human rights and legal means possible.
Meanwhile, tensions are not limited to Gaza alone. The statement also accuses Israel of widening its actions across the region, from restrictions around Al-Aqsa Mosque to continued military operations in neighboring areas. All of this, he claims, is part of a broader pattern, one that risks dragging the region deeper into instability. And now, the call is going beyond the battlefield. Abu Obaida is urging Arab and Muslim nations, as well as the wider international community, to take action, to hold Israel accountable, or at the very least, to apply pressure to halt what he describes as ongoing aggression. As the war stretches on, the rhetoric is hardening, the stakes are rising, and with every new statement, the fear grows that this conflict could expand even further, pulling more actors into an already dangerous confrontation. For now, the region watches, waits, and braces for what may come next.
All right, brothers and sisters. So as you see, false Israel, they're in trouble. All those that are assisting false Israel, they're in trouble. This thing is not going anywhere. Like I explained, they're pushing for peace. There will be no peace, only destruction. So, this is a gratifying, deserving destruction of false Israel. Which is near. So there's no way around it. There's nothing that they can do to now stop this. And everything that they are doing to try to stop it it's just intensifying it. It's making it worse. And now things are being put in place to put an end to false Israel. They have literally created their own deathbed. And if you know, it says men's hearts failing them from fear. Meaning people having heart attacks. They're having heart attacks from fear in the expectation of those things which are coming on earth, coming here to America, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. meaning that false Israel and his allies will be defeated and eliminated, kicked out of the Middle East. American Britain kicked out. House of Assad defeated. American Britain kicked out. False Israel, or the House of Assad, the dragon, the House of Assad defeated, and false Israel isolated, put under siege, and destroyed. So it'd be a new authority, authority switch, which would be the God, Master Muhammad, Michael, and his angels, was the Iran and Syria. They'll be the victorious in this war and be the successful party who will take over and gain the Middle East, gain the power and authority over the Middle East. But it said hearts are befailing them from the anticipation of what you see happening over there, coming over here, brothers and sisters. It says they'll be having heart attacks. So we're here to warn you, give you that warning before it happens, brothers and sisters, so you can take heed. Well, so we reduce the effect it's going to have on you, so you won't be in total shock. But you're still going to be a shock, but it won't be a shock to drive you into a heart attack. So we're here to save our people and minimize that shock, so you don't suffer from heart attacks, brothers and sisters. But it says what's coming here is going to be terrible, worse than anything you can think of, worse than any severe recession, any Great Depressions, any world wars, any Holocaust, anything that that's terrible, any mass shootings, any murders, any thing that you've seen in your life that you think is so terrible. It said we headed to a time of unprecedented trouble, a time worse than anything that you could imagine. You understand? And it says that men's hearts were failing from that thought, from just the thought of it, something that's coming here, what they see going on over there. So whatever is going on over there, plus anything you could think of, totally unimaginable. You couldn't even think of it. You couldn't even fathom all that, right? But it's still coming here. So you get a picture, you get an idea of what's to come here. And it's going to be way worse than that. You see? And that's why we're telling our people to wake up. Invest in yourself. Invest in your vision. You see? Get the hell out of America. Because America's is about to be under judgment, under plagues, about to get hit with all this stuff. And you don't want you don't want to be caught up in the, you want to be caught up in that. Say that. You want to be caught up in all this mess that America has made. You see? Because it's coming here, regardless, whether they like it or not. And it said men's hearts will be failing them. Literally. Heart attacks from what's to come here, brothers and sisters. It's coming, whether they like it or not.
In breaking news just coming in, Israel has said that it is intercepting missiles fired by Iran towards its territory, and this comes soon after US President Donald Trump's address to the nation, in which he gave an important update on the war with Iran.
And earlier, Israel's emergency services said that 14 people, including an 11-year-old boy, were wounded in Tel Aviv in a missile attack. And also, they've blamed Iran. And this is the breaking development we're tracking for you at this hour. Israel, as we speak, is intercepting missiles fired by Iran towards its territory. And this is, if it's happening in real time, it's happening as Trump addressed the nation to mention that they have nearly achieved their targets, decimating Iran's military capabilities. And now we hear from Israel that they are intercepting missiles that Israel says are being fired by Iran. They're fired at Israeli territory, and this comes soon after Donald Trump's address.
Tensions in West Asia show no signs of a breakthrough as the war enters day 34. In the latest development, Iran launched multiple strikes towards Israel. Authorities intercepted at least 2 attacks in Tel Aviv, which left 4 people injured. Visuals from the scene show a burst water pipeline flooding a street on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. Reports also claim that Iran launched missiles targeting the Israeli port city of Haifa. Meanwhile, in Iran, hundreds of people were seen rallying in Zanjan a day after US-Israeli strikes partially damaged a religious site. Well, the latest wave of attacks come after Donald Trump's recent address to Americans on his war goals. Trump had earlier claimed that Iran had sought a ceasefire. Tehran, however, says that it has no such intent. Still, Trump has vowed that the US will continue to carry out aggressive strikes, targeting the country over the next 2 to 3 weeks. He reassured Americans that a swift, decisive and overwhelming victory is on the cards. However, he stopped short of providing a specific timeline of the end of the conflict.
We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then sought to rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making clear they had no intention of abandoning their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They were also rapidly building a vast stockpile of conventional ballistic missiles and would soon have had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place on Earth. Iran's strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did, with the longest range possible, and they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out. We took them out. We took them all out so that no one would really dare stop them.
While responding to Trump's latest threat, Iran has now affirmed that it will not back down, warning of more crushing and destructive action in the future.
With trust in Almighty God, this war will continue until your humiliation, disgrace, permanent and certain regret, and surrender await our more crushing, broader, and more destructive actions.
And elsewhere in the region, the prospect of peace continues to look grim. The US Embassy in Baghdad has warned that the city may witness attacks over the next 24 to 48 hours by pro-Iranian groups. Meanwhile, the UAE government says it is responding to fresh missile and drone threats by Iran. The human cost of war keeps piling on. The International Federation of Red Cross says that more than 1,900 people have been killed in Iran, with over 20,000 injured. In Israel, missile attacks have killed civilians and injured hundreds, despite interception systems blocking most of the projectiles. The conflict has also hit Lebanon, where over 1,200 people have reportedly died, many of them civilians. So, with no ceasefire in sight and both sides raging, the conflict seems to have no end. The question now, how far will this escalation go?
The world moves fast. Power shifts. Unexpected developments. Changing alliances.
Iranian missiles have slammed into central Israel, hitting dense urban zones and triggering fires across streets. Impacts were reported in Bnei Brak, Ramat Gan, and Petah Tikva. 8 people were injured as blasts spread across neighborhoods, with burning cars and shattered buildings. Iran now claims it is expanding the war beyond missiles, targeting industrial and communication hubs linked to Israel's war network. Tehran says drone strikes hit facilities tied to telecom and advanced systems, signaling a shift toward infrastructure and economic warfare alongside direct military strikes.
Iranian army drones targeted strategic industrial and communication centers linked to the Zionist regime in Ben Gurion and Haifa early this morning. The army stated it will continue responding to any aggression until threats against Iran end.
The escalation is now part of a declared long-term campaign. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says this is the 88th wave of Operation True Promise 4, aimed at eroding Israeli and US military power. The messaging signals a sustained war strategy, not a one-off retaliation, with pressure building across multiple fronts. The conflict is rapidly expanding beyond Israel. Iranian-linked forces claim strikes on US targets across the region, alongside coordinated attacks by groups in Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. Tehran says over 120 operations were carried out, pointing to a synchronized regional offensive stretching defenses on multiple fronts.
The brave men of the Air Force of the Islamic Republic of Iran, one batch of the American MQ-9 missiles in the region of Isfahan, and one batch of the Lucas missiles of the enemy, were used by the IRGC in the area of Kesh, Rajiri, and Monhadam. At the same time with the operations of the Islamic Revolutionary Army, Hezbollah of Lebanon, and Ansarullah of Yemen in the past few hours against the northern and southern areas of the occupied territories and the Islamic resistance groups of Iraq, in the place of the establishment and disappearance of the U.S. commanders in the center and north of Iraq, they made significant damage to the U.S. enemies. The resistance groups in this step carried out 120 successful and effective operations.
Iran's military command has issued a direct warning to the US and Israel, vowing harsh retaliation and rejecting any control over the Strait of Hormuz. The rhetoric signals rising global stakes as the conflict deepens. With civilians under fire and regional forces mobilizing, this war is entering a far more dangerous phase.
Let's get to Trey Yingst. He's live in Tel Aviv. What's the mood and the view from there?
Yeah, Bill, Dana, good morning. Overnight, the United States used 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs to target an Iranian ammunition depot. The president releasing some of the video on Truth Social showing significant damage and destruction outside the city of Isfahan. While President Trump is still offering Iran a chance at a diplomatic solution, the U.S. and Israel are ramping up pressure on the Islamic Republic.
The video the president posted last night of Isfahan, an ammo depot struck by U.S. bombers. You see, you don't get to see many of those videos because, as a reminder, Iran has still shut off the internet to 99.9% of its population.
Iran has continued its ballistic missile attacks against Israel, with 2 waves targeting central Israel last night and another 2 cluster munition strikes this morning against Tel Aviv. The Iranians also struck a Kuwaiti oil tanker with a drone off the coast of Dubai early this morning. Officials say the fire caused by that attack is now under control. While Gulf countries and Israel repel Iranian attacks, Israel has expanded ground operations against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Dozens of militants were killed there in recent days, according to the IDF. And today, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, announced that Israel is building a buffer zone in southern Lebanon up to the Litani River.
All houses in the border-adjacent villages in Lebanon will be destroyed in accordance with the Rafah and Beit Hanun models in Gaza to remove the border-adjacent threats once and for all from the residents of the north.
The IDF announced that 4 additional Israeli soldiers were killed yesterday, bringing the total since the Lebanon operation began to 10. On Monday, a funeral was held for one of those soldiers, just 19 years old.
Enough already. Enough of these funerals. Enough of this pain of children who are living and lying here in the ground. What is the value of all these lives? What is the value of all life? Enough of the wars. Make peace already.
This week, the Israeli people will mark the Jewish holiday of Passover, some of them celebrating their Seders in bomb shelters. Bill, Dana?
Trey Yanks in Tel Aviv, thank you.
So Dan Hoffman, Fox News contributor, former CIA chief of station. Dan, good morning to you. Here is Caroline Levitt yesterday at the podium at the press conference at the White House.
Despite all of the public posturing you hear from the regime and false reporting, talks are continuing and going well. What is said publicly is, of course, much different than what's being communicated to us privately. If the Iranians reject this golden opportunity, the greatest military in the history of the world continues to stand by to provide President Trump with every option available to ensure this regime continues to pay a grave price.
Dan, who do you think the United States can communicate with right now, actively and effectively in Iran, if anyone?
Well, I think we are communicating, as Secretary Hegseth said, with our military campaign. So that's for sure what we're doing. I just don't think we've quite reached the tipping point where we can induce Iran to enter into negotiations in good faith. Just in the last hour, Lucas Tomlinson reported on Iran striking the UAE with 8 ballistic missiles, 4 cruise missiles, and 36 drones. They attacked a Kuwaiti oil tanker off the coast of Dubai. So they still retain some capability in spite of the massive damage that we've inflicted on their defense industrial base. Iran is not publicly demanding an end to this war. There are some behind-the-scenes indirect negotiations, discussions in Pakistan, reportedly through the Iranian Speaker of Parliament, but I would not characterize those negotiations at this point as anything which would lead to an end to this war, at least diplomatically.
There was a report in the Wall Street Journal saying that Trump tells aides he's willing to end war without reopening Hormuz. Administration officials assess that forcing the waterway back open would mean extending the military mission. In addition, the president posting today, and Pete Hegseth talking about it during his briefing, that the president is telling other countries, like, we don't need this open as much as you do, so you should step in and help us. What are the chances of that?
So I think the president might have been seeking to gain some leverage over our allies and partners whom he hopes would join us in an effort to open the Strait of Hormuz. I think it's in the United States' interest that we do that. We don't want Iran to have a stranglehold on the global price of oil and gas. That would certainly impact the global economy and our economy as well. By extension, Iran would also be extorting the rest of the world and collecting tariff money that they could use to reconstitute their weapons of mass destruction. So I don't think that's how we see this war ending. But I do think the president wants to pressure our allies and partners to join us in an effort to open the strait.
Pete Hegseth said just an hour ago that in the last 24 hours, the fewest missiles have been launched from Iran that they have seen since the conflict began. So that stretches over a 30-day period. Dan, at times the Iranians have shown fairly good accuracy. What do you make of the Russian assistance that's been given on behalf of Moscow? And what can you say about North Korean ballistic missile technology aiding Iran as well right now?
Well, Iran's missile technology for sure came from North Korea. And Russian tactical intelligence has been really valuable to the Iranians. The Russians, remember, provided tactical assistance to the Taliban as well, so they could kill U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan. The Russians are able to give Iran satellite overhead reconnaissance and tactical intelligence. That's what the Russians do. It's their currency. They have a very close relationship with Iran. Remember that Iran built factories to produce drones in Russia. Now Russia's returning the favor by sending those drones to Iran. It's in Russia's interest that this war carry on as long as possible and that they degrade the U.S. Reputation in the region and beyond, as well as our military capability and our ability to project force. I think that's what we're seeing here from Russia and Iran. It's this what we see in the outgrowth of the war in Ukraine, where we've got this axis of dictatorships, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China on one side, and the West and Ukraine on the other side.
Can I ask one last question then about the Houthis? because they had been relatively quiet until this past weekend when they decided to join the fight. What can happen there? Because that's another strait.
Right. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which controls the Red Sea and links to the Suez Canal, that could likewise have a significant impact on trade from the Middle East. And so that's also something that we need to be prepared for. I'm sure that that Secretary Hegseth and his team have a contingency plan to deal with that, along with our allies and partners. But you're right to highlight that. There's more potentially that Iran could do. And remember that Lebanese Hezbollah has also been taking the fight to Israel.
Dan, thank you. To be continued. Pete Hegseth was asked how much longer. He said 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, as pretty much as long as it takes. Dan, thanks. More to come on this, okay? Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
What is unfolding between Iran and Israel is no longer being seen as just another round of regional tension. It is now being watched as a direct and dangerous confrontation between two states whose actions can quickly shape the wider Middle East and, in some cases, affect global markets, diplomacy, and public confidence far beyond the region. In the latest phase of this crisis, attention has turned sharply toward Tel Aviv and Haifa, where incoming projectiles, air defense activity, emergency alerts and public disruption have once again pushed civilian life into the center of a rapidly developing story. This is not simply about military capability. It is about pressure, messaging, perception, and the political meaning behind every move. When major cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa come under visible pressure, the impact is immediate and emotional. Sirens, shelter runs, blocked roads, emergency services, interrupted flights, disrupted business activity, and rising anxiety all become part of the same reality. And in a conflict like this, that public reality matters almost as much as the strategic one. Israel has been presenting this phase of events as part of a wider campaign to reduce the threat posed by Iran and by groups aligned with Tehran across the region. Iranian officials, meanwhile, have framed their actions as a response to what they describe as sustained pressure and confrontation. Each side is speaking in firm language. Each side is trying to show resolve. And each side is also trying to shape how the world interprets what is happening. That is why the narrative cannot be told only through dramatic visuals or sharp headlines. It has to be understood as a larger contest over deterrence, credibility, and political survival. The scenes in Tel Aviv and Haifa may dominate the screen, but behind those scenes is a deeper struggle over who can absorb pressure, who can maintain public confidence, and who can still claim control as the situation becomes more intense. For people inside Israel, the immediate experience is very different from the language used in official statements. When alerts begin, the first concern is not diplomacy or long-term strategy. It is safety. It is getting to shelter. It is checking where family members are. It is waiting for updates. It is trying to understand whether the danger has passed or whether another wave may still be coming.
So many Arizonans are struggling. Your donation to St. Mary's Food Bank makes feeding them possible.
I'm Steve Ballmer, former Microsoft CEO and a basketball fanatic.
Even when air defense systems intercept many incoming threats, the atmosphere remains tense because uncertainty itself becomes part of daily life. Tel Aviv carries symbolic and practical importance. It is a major economic center, a major population center, and a city that represents modern Israeli civilian life to much of the world. Haifa, too, is deeply important, not just because of its population, but because of its industrial and strategic significance. When those two cities are mentioned together in a crisis, the message is larger than geography. It suggests that the pressure is touching both the civilian heart and the industrial backbone of the country. That is one reason why every incident in and around these areas draws such close attention. A visible impact near infrastructure, a disruption near a refinery zone, a temporary pause in operations, or even an incident that does not create long-term damage can still have a major psychological effect. In this kind of confrontation, perception matters. The public asks not only what was hit, but what could be hit next. And that question becomes more powerful with every new alert. From the Israeli side, the leadership's public posture has remained firm. The government's message is built around the idea that continued pressure is necessary to weaken Iran's reach and prevent greater risks later. The language is meant to reassure the public, warn opponents, and signal to allies that Israel believes it is acting from a position of necessity. At the same time, official messaging also reflects a need to show that the state remains functional, that critical systems remain in place, and that the home front can endure even under repeated pressure. That balancing act is not easy. A government in this kind of moment has to sound strong without sounding reckless, calm without sounding detached, and determined without suggesting that escalation has no cost. The public can accept firm language, but only if it believes that the leadership is also aware of the risks being taken. That is why even the toughest statements are often paired with visible efforts to project control, continuity, and readiness. Iran, on the other hand, is trying to speak to several audiences at once. Domestically, it wants to show that it is not backing down. Regionally, it wants to demonstrate reach and relevance. Internationally, it wants to avoid being portrayed as reckless beyond repair. That creates a dual-track message. On one side, there is defiance. On the other, there are signals that diplomacy is not entirely closed. This is a familiar pattern in major regional confrontations. States often try to show strength while also leaving space for negotiation.
All right, brothers and sisters. So there will be no negotiation. There will be no back down. There will be no turning back from this. Things are only going to get worse, and much worse, brothers and sisters. Things are going to get worse. They're going to get so bad. And eventually, false Israel will be under siege, will be isolated, and will be consumed and crushed out of existence, brothers and sisters. Their destruction is near. And we, our people, are on our way out. So, okay, brothers and sisters, stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.